3 years ago, in a little town in Equestria called Prologue, lived two little marshmallows, Rarity and Sweetie Belle. They had something very traumatizing happen to them. It all started when they decided to have sex. They had begun ruffling their edges against each other when there was a thunderous crash from the ceiling. The roof had caved in and threw debris in all directions, destroying the interior of the room. Duke Nukem had made a dynamic entrance into the building, where he, too, had began to have sex with the marshmallow. The marshmallows had given Duke fellatio for a little while, when the cries in the background started. Nobody had known what the sound was, so they ignored it and continued to have sexual intercourse. Over time, the cries began to grow louder and louder. The cries were right outside the door when the origin of the voice kicked down the door. It could have been no one else but Nigel Thornberry. At this point, the marshmallows and the Duke had decided to make the threesome a foursome. As Nigel had ran towards the eager and awaiting participants with his flaccid yet steadily erecting penis flailing all about. They had this foursome for about 10 to 15 minutes when there was a knock on the door. Rarity grumbled to herself as she left the group and went to open the door to see who had the nerve to interrupt. Through the window in the door, she saw a very unforgettable name. It was obviously Rainbow Dash. She opened the door with glee and asked the blue Pegasus if she wanted to join in on the intercourse happening in her household. Of course, the Pegasus couldn't have said no to such a proposition. She answered yes with excitement. The following events were very unforgettable to every pony in the room. Rainbow had decided to try a new technique she had invented, and kicked both Nigel and Duke straight in the jaw, knocking them both out instantly. She grabbed Rarity and Sweetie Belle and proceeded to shove them both into her vaginal canal. The blue Pegasus could not withstand to hold back the vaginal fluids about to pour out of her vagina. Inside, the marshmallows were drowning in these fluids. They were thrashing and trying to make their way to the opening of Rainbow's vagina, yet they were unsuccessful. The marshmallows had drowned inside of the dark, cramped, and desolate Pegasus's vagina. The Pegasus died due to her bodily organs failing because of the gallons of vaginal fluids making their way out of her. The marshmallows miraculously survived this ordeal, but were forever traumatized. Years had passed since this event happened. They continued to live in the same building that these acts had occurred, but refused to enter the room that they took place in. Duke Nukem and Nigel Thornberry have never been seen since these events happened. The marshmallows promised to never speak of or do these acts again, but some promises are broken.